Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to this YouTube channel. Now, this video I'm going to talk about why I'm stopping doing new rent-to-rent property deals and what you can learn from that. Now, do make sure you stick around to the end because you're not going to have a real understanding on why this could benefit you unless you watch this video all the way to the end. Now, I'm just standing outside my latest project with my daughter, Georgia. This little bit here is a flat, believe it or not. It's very small. We've got a little garden shed over here, and this is part of our investment journey. So Georgia and I bought this together. This is the second property we've bought. Those of you that have been following along might have seen our house in Doncaster that we bought, and you can see all of that stuff and join us on the journey together by taking that finger of power and smashing that subscribe button and hitting the bell notification. Now, rent to rent. What do I think of rent to rent? Well, I think rent to rent is an absolutely great strategy, a really, really good strategy. And so I have made some really, really good money with rent to rent, and I think you could too, but I'm stopping and I'm going to explain that to you in a second. So rent to rent is where you rent a property and then you rent it on afterwards. Now, when I say that, people say that's illegal, that's subletting. Well, it's not if you have the right contracts in place. So what might you do with that? So you, for example, so one I've got in London. So I rent this beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in London by Tower Bridge. And it's, well, when I took it on about 3.5 years ago now, it was fully refurbished, underfloor heating, absolutely gorgeous place. And it was furnished as well, which was very useful. All we needed to do was add soft furnishings, which means like duvets and cutlery and microwave and little bits and bobs like that, right? Xbox, put an old Xbox that I had in there so people can watch DVDs and play games and stuff. So we rent that property and then we rent it out on Airbnb, right? So it goes on Airbnb and it goes for a nightly rate, sometimes of 200 quid, sometimes 250 quid for a night, right? And so by doing that, we're able to achieve around 2.5 times more than we could rent the property for. We have various costs, like if someone leaves, then there are costs of like cleaning it. But on Airbnb, they actually pay for that themselves, right? So that's a fee that's included in there. So with that property, we rent it off someone and then we make at least £1,100 profit most months, right? Pretty much every month on average we make £1,100 profit renting it out on Airbnb. Very good strategy. Other people rent properties and maybe they get a 4-bedroom house and it has 2 rooms downstairs, and then they break the rooms up and turn them into bedrooms, and then they rent those out as like student accommodation or as a house of multiple occupancy to professionals, right? And that's a very, very good strategy. Again, now with both of those, you need to let the landlord know that you're going to do it. You've got to have the agreement to be able to do that, or it isn't legal, right? That's very, very important that you do that. Now, that strategy is a great strategy for people that are getting started as property investors, because maybe you want to start in property, but you don't have deposits, right? Deposits are a stumbling block for some. And so that's a way that you can start building up deposits quite quickly. If you've got 2 of those, you can make £2,000 a month and you can make £24,000 in a year, which would easily be enough to buy a property in the north of England for sure, right? You could easily buy a property up north for like 80 grand, including all the stamp duties, legals and everything, with your profit from just 1 year doing that. And so it's a very high cash flow strategy. Rent to rent is a very good cash flow strategy. Now, the reason why I'm stopping doing it is because now my own personal portfolio is at a point where I can remove or take out equity to buy other assets. And when you're buying more assets, that's where you make real wealth in property. You see, the rent from the property is good. And yeah, of course, that's how we live. Our own cost of living is covered by the rental income. But where you actually make real significant wealth in property is through capital appreciation, right? Capital appreciation. So this property here, the one above, I bought that property in 2013 for £150,000. £150,000. Now, today is 2022. That property is now worth £290,000. So we're not quite at 10 years, but we pretty much doubled the property price. We've only got to get 10 grand more increase, which I'm sure this year we will get. And that means that in 10 years, that property has doubled in value. Doubled in value, guys. And that is way more than the rent, like an extra £140,000 that I've created in equity just by owning that asset is way more profit than I've earned in rent in that time, right? It's way, way more. And I've made the profit from the rent. So there's two reasons there. I've got two ways, two income streams from that one property, which is really, really key here to growing your wealth. And I'm building rent, and I've got that capital appreciation. Now with rent to rent, I don't have that, right? So with rent to rent, somebody else owns that property. Sorry, sun's on there. Somebody else owns the property, and so they're getting the capital appreciation. So the one that I got in London nearly 4 years ago, I looked it up. It's probably gone up in about £90,000, the value of that flat in the time that I've had it. Even with COVID, it went down a little bit at the time, but now it's worth about £90,000 more than what the guy paid for it. I've been paying rent, he's made profit off of that, and the capital appreciation is there. So with rent to rent, it's a good, very good strategy if you've got a low income, if you don't have a deposit. And then what you should do is you should take the profits from that rent to rent and move it into your own property. You must own your own assets moving forward, because that is where you're going to get real wealth. Now, this property down here, we've just paid this. We bought it slightly below market value. It's worth about 255. We got it for 235. So we've got about 20 grand in extra equity already in there, which is just crazy because it's Dorking prices. This is not a big flat at all. And so you can see, let me see if you can, it's hard to tell really, isn't it? Here, it goes basically from here all the way to the end there. You can see inside, it's a tiny little one bed. So this is the bedroom, bathroom, kitchen and living room. So yeah, this property is worth more than £250,000, but in 10 years this will be worth £500,000 or thereabouts. Now, might not hit that on exactly 10 years. We might have a bit of a correction and it might go down 10% in the next few months. But that's fine too, because I made sure that I bought this slightly below market value. So I've already got that 20 grand buffer in there roughly. If it goes down 10%, then I'm losing 25 grand off it. So I still won't be losing out, right? It's still going to be a good investment for me. And that is a very key message here. So I believe that you should, if you don't have the deposits to start with rent to rent. But I think you should evolve as you get cash flow, as you get money in the bank, and then you should move that into an asset that will give you capital appreciation. And that is where you will really, really start making big money in property. We've now got a multi-million pound property portfolio. That's all going up every month. When it goes up 1%, it's a huge amount that the properties increase. When we refinance every 2 years on normally, we're then pulling that cash out and buying more income producing assets from that. It gets faster and faster and faster. So now we've got multiple properties bringing in capital appreciation. And so we'll always have a deal on the go where we're refinancing that, and that gives us an option to buy other properties as well. Another thing that you can also do is the buy, refurbish, refinance, rent strategy. And that's where you take a property like I did in Doncaster. I can't really do much with this property here. If you're interested to know actually why did I buy this property, because this isn't my normal investing standards, do check out the channel. I actually is a video titled "Is this the worst investment ever?" You can see that on this channel and see why I bought this. But what I'd like to say is that you can also create value quite quickly. So you don't have to wait for the market to go up all the time. You can use a strategy we call the buy, refurbish, refinance, rent strategy. We did that in Doncaster, where we bought for £60,000. we did the property up to a good standard. Then we bought for 60. We refurbed it for 12, which was pretty good. New kitchen, new bathroom. You can check that out on the videos as well. I detailed all of that on this channel, so you can see what I did. Then there was like $3,000 in costs, and we got it revalued at 100 about 6 to 8 weeks later from the mortgage company. Then we're able to borrow 75, which means we get pretty much all of our money out, and we've created 25 grand in equity in that property. So that's where you need to move towards, strategies like that, because if you can do a few of those each year, you can really build a portfolio very fast. It doesn't matter if the market goes up, doesn't matter if the market goes down, because you're creating the equity by adding value, right? We just did that on, see if you can see it. This flat up here is another one that I own in this block of 4. I own 2 of them now, and that is in the video why I did this. In that flat up there, it was a 1-bedroom flat. I added an additional bedroom in there that created 50 grand of value. I think it cost around 12 grand to do. Not much at all, and created a hell of a lot of equity in there. Got a really, really good tenant in there as well. And so that's a very, very good asset for me. So rent to rent's good, but you must be looking to build capital appreciation, guys. Hope you learned something from this video. I'd love to know your thoughts. What do you think? Do smash the like button, guys. That really helps me with YouTube. Comment below, ask any questions below, and come and join me in London for a live event. I want to meet you guys, and so I'm going to put a link in the description where you can add yourself to our VIP list, grab a free ticket to our live event in London. I'd love to meet you guys and get to know you guys that little bit more. Do check out all the other videos. If you want to see a tour of this house, there's a video on that on this channel as well. Also, while you're here, check out this video right here. Bye for now.